Maths of Finance, that's financial mathematics, looking at chapter 7. Okay, when you deal with Maths of Finance, you need to remember these 5 variables. Okay, that's everything. Right, you need to know what PV represents, which is the present value. If we plot the present value on a timeline, it'll be at the beginning. Okay, that'll be the PV. If I'm looking at the future value, then that'll be at the end, okay, which is the FV. Right, then I've got N, which is the time. Okay, so I'll have T0 all the way through to T whatever it is, 10 years, 5 years, 2 years, it doesn't matter. Okay, so Tn is the number of periods that you've got that's relevant for the actual time value of money calculation. Okay. Alright, your I over Y is the rate. Alright, so I over Y is the rate that's applicable to this period. Okay, meaning if I've got 10%, 15%, 20%, 30%, that's the amount of interest that I'm earning, okay, for the period. And then the last thing that you could possibly have, remember, these 4 are the most important. Right, so in terms of bare minimum, you have to have 4 variables. Yes. Right, you can have a 5th, but the 5th is only applicable when you have what? An annuity. Right, what is an annuity? It's a sequence of payments. Okay, payments that occur 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 every single period. Okay, from here onwards. Alright, so that's a payment. Okay, so payments are only applicable if we have a recurring amount. Payments are they have to be regular and recurring. Right, so I can't have a payment of 100 here and a payment of 200 there. Yes. Okay, they have to be the same. Right, you can have irregular payments, but then that's one step further. Okay, that would be a growing annuity. Okay, which I saw you don't cover. Okay, that's just not something that's in your book specifically. Okay, you don't know about this module, hey? DSC 1630. No. Yeah, you haven't had to do it, hey? No. Okay, yeah. So that module is actually more advanced to this, the financial mathematics. Okay, but as long as you've just got the basics, that's all you really need. Okay. Alright, so coming back to the textbook, simple interest is simple. It's a constant amount of interest that doesn't change. Okay, so if I've got 10,000 Rand and it's 15% simple interest, simple means it doesn't change, so it's 1,500 every single year, forever. Yes. If I'm saving it forever. Right, so that means every year we'll have 1,500. What happens if I don't have the full year? Then I need to pro-rata it. Yes. So if I only have 1 month, it'll be 1 over 12. Yeah. If I have 2 months, 2 over 12.
Sometimes when you put money in a bank, if you take it out earlier, then you don't get anything.
Yes. Well, it depends on what the actual
agreement
is. Yeah. It just depends on the bank's policy, okay, in terms of charging interest. Right, but generally if you are saving money towards something, then that would basically generate interest or accumulate interest. Okay. Right, so this is interest. How do I get interest? Principal rate times time. Okay, so principal is whatever the amount is. Okay, the savings or the borrowing, depending on whether this is a loan or other. And then the principal is what you're going to be accumulating interest on. Okay, so in other words, if I start with the present value, that's my starting principal. Okay, the rate is just how much I'm going to be charging on it. Time is how long I'm going to have it for. Okay. Alright, so yeah, we've got that. These are equations that you can find in the formula sheet. Remember, this is the basic equation. That was the one that I wrote earlier, which I'll write again. Future value equals what? Present value plus interest. Right, so now if I've got simple interest, do you agree that this interest here is calculated based on the principal? Right, so you can write this down in that format, in that format, in that format. All of those equations represent the exact same thing. Okay, so you can decide which formula you want to use when doing a calculation using simple interest. Alright, let's see. That's just going forward or backwards. So that's going forward, PV, FV. Okay, if you go forward, do amounts get bigger or smaller?
Bigger.
Amounts get bigger. So the future value will always be bigger than the present value if you're taking things forward in time.
Yes.
Okay. If you're going backwards in time, what's happening?
The amount will get smaller.
Yes, the amounts will get smaller, correct. Why? Because you're going back. Right, so you're starting with the future value and you're getting to the present value. Then that would be negative, going smaller. Right, so principle, that's fine. That's moving backwards and forwards. And they've given you some examples. Okay, we'll look at ones in your past papers to practice. Okay, these you can have a look at if you are, if you do have some time. Okay, and then if you can't get them, then we can always discuss them the following week. All right, so I would suggest go back, see if you can do that. If you can, great. If you can't, look at the answer and see if you would be able to understand how they managed to calculate it. If you still don't know how to do it, then we can always discuss it. Okay, but I obviously want to do all the past papers, okay, as many of them as possible.
Yes.
Okay.
Cool.
Alright, simple discount. Obviously the word discount means to move back. Okay, to discount means to make something smaller.
Yes.
Okay, so to give a discount means to lower the price. Right, so to use simple discount as an interest, you're going to take things back. Okay, so you're basically taking off the interest. That's the formula for it. Again, you can write that in any format. This or that. It's the same thing. You're going to be using simple discount. Right, so they have to tell you in the question if it's simple discount or simple interest. Okay, if it's simple discount, then I use this formula. If it's simple interest, then I use the other one. Okay. Right, so again, a bit more activities. You can look at some examples there. And then we've got compound. Okay, so compound is the most important one. Why? That's the most popular. Because nowadays, everything is compounded. Right, so compound interest is just interest on interest. That's what it is. Alright, so what does that mean? Well, that means if I have something like this, let's say I start with 100. Present value. Okay, and I'm compounding this 10% per annum compound interest. Okay, compounded yearly. Compound interest yearly, or let's just say compounded yearly. Okay, so if I'm compounding it yearly, then what's going to happen?
Then every year it's going to be 110 this year at the end of this year, and then next year will be 110 plus the 10%.
Exactly. So it'll actually be 110 plus 11. Do you agree? Which is 121. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so this first year is 100 plus 10%. This year is 110 plus 10% of 110.
Yes.
Okay, so you earn an extra rand worth of interest just because of the extra 10 that you received from the previous year. Okay, so that would be 121 versus simple interest. Simple would have been 10 rand, 10 rand, 10 rand, 10 rand, 10 rand every year.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is 121 compound interest. If this was simple, we would have 120.
Yes.
Okay, because it would have been 10 rand from that year, 10 rand from that year, no interest on interest.
Yes.
Compound interest, 10 rand this year, and then 10% of the 110 gives you 11 rand that year.
Yeah.
Okay, and that obviously adds up. So that's why compound interest is very powerful over the longer term. Okay. Alright, so then they've given you some equations again. These things are given in the actual formula sheet, so you can use them. Are you going to need them? No. Why? You've got a financial calculator. Right, so all of these, you would use the financial calculator. Just remember how to use it, that's all. Okay, in terms of process and steps. Okay. Then you've got some examples that you can obviously practice with using the calculator. You can check those at the back of the book. Okay, time value of money we've discussed. That should actually have been earlier on because this is the time value of money. Moving things backwards and forwards. Alright, they've given you equations there for future value and present value. So, there's present value and there's future value. S is future value, P is for present value. Okay, moving things forward or backwards, yeah. Alright, so that's that. Payments, there we go, another section. Right, so what is a payment? It's a recurring payment, i.e. PMT. Okay, it's a cash flow. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so if it's recurring, it means it's the same figure every single period. Right, so with payments, you'll have two different payments. An annuity due annuity. I don't know if you differentiate between those two. Maybe, maybe not. Annuity due normal, ordinary. Does that mean anything?
No.
It doesn't. Okay, then you probably don't cover it. So then don't stress about that. Okay, so if there's two payments of 3,000, do you agree there's going to be two payments of 3,000? So I could take this back and I could take that back. Right, and if I add the two amounts together, I'm going to get the total PV. Okay, if I want to take these forward, I could. Right, then I would take it, I would take it that way. Okay, then I could work out the future value there. Alright, so future value there would be this plus the future value of 3,000. Okay, because it's not at the same time. If this is time 2, that's at time 1. Alright, so this needs to go to there before I can add it. Okay, so another thing to remember with time value of money, TVM, everything should be at the same point in time. Right, so that's the taking things backwards and forwards. Right, something else to check is check that all the variables, when I say variables, I'm referring to this, are the same in terms of time. Okay, what do I mean by that? Well, if I've got a monthly rate, then I would need the number of months and I would need the monthly payments. Okay, so months, months, months. Days, days, days. Years, years, years. Okay, keep the variables the same. Right, then they've just shown you that. Take things backwards and forwards. Just something else to take note of. Payments and obligations. Okay, do you agree if you're paying off a liability?
It's an obligation.
Yes. Okay, so your payments would have to amortize the obligation. And that's where you use that amortization function.
Okay.
Alright. They've just given you an example there. We spoke about payments, that's fine, and then there's the exercise that you can practice. Okay, we'll practice with the exam paper questions. Okay. Right, there's the note about annuities. What is an annuity? It's a regular, recurring payments. That's what it is. Okay, what do I mean by that? Well, PV, T0, and then 5, 5, 5, 5, 5 onwards. Okay, so it's regular, it's recurring, and it's occurring at equal intervals. Okay. Right, so then they've given you, oh, they do actually talk about it. See, ordinary annuity and annuity due. Okay, that's the beginning or end. Okay, so when do I use begin mode? Begin mode is when I have annuity due. Ordinary annuity is end mode. Okay, so you just change the setting on your calculator, that's all. Okay, to begin or end depending. Alright, and obviously that's the BEG or END. Where is it? There's it there, the second function.
Okay.
Alright, so then examples there. Maybe just to highlight this, have a look here. When does the first payment start? there at the end. So is this normal or is this annuity due?
Normal.
Normal. Okay, this would have been the first one there.
Yes.
Right, where does the payment start here? Payable in advance. So it gets paid there. Right, so if it gets paid there, this is annuity due. Okay, so the payment occurs at T0, and here the payment occurs at T1. That's the difference. Okay, it's just when do you make the payment. Okay, do you pay the installment at the beginning of the month or at the end of the month?
Oh, okay.
So does the installment come off on the 1st or does the installment come off on the 31st?
Oh.
Okay. Right, then there's some examples there that you can use to practice, and then I think that's it. Then we can start practicing. Okay, not quite. Okay, one more section. Amortization. That's a nice section actually. Why? It's just application. Okay, what or how does amortization work? This is how you do it. Alright, so amortization is the paying off of a liability over time. Right, so I want to see if you can still do these things on your calculator. Right, so how much is the house worth?
This house. I think it's now worth $1 million or something.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 zeros. Okay, what is that?
It's the present value.
PV. Okay, let's assume someone had to buy the house today. They would have to take out a loan for that. Okay, the time they're going to pay it off over 20 years. Right? They're going to pay it off monthly. Right? And the bank is going to give them prime. So let's round off just to keep it simple. The rate is going to be 10%. Okay. Alright, so that's the interest that you're going to have to pay. Right, so now looking at this, can I get the payment?
Yes.
Right, so how much would a person have to pay monthly to pay off the 1 million rand loan? Can you work it out?
Yes.
Okay, see what you get.
Okay, so the present value is strings. Because it's 1 million.
Which is what?
That's the present value.
Good.
And then
What?
20 years.
No.
Is it time?
I can't use 20 years.
You need to use monthly.
Yes.
So it's 20 times 12.
Good.
Okay, wait. Is it tight? not getting it.
What is the rate? 10% per annum.
Yes.
So how much is that per month? Divide by 12.
Divide by 12.
Yes. Okay, so this is 240 months. This would be 10 divided by 12, which is that percent per month. Okay.
Okay, but I'm still not getting it.
Redo.
Okay, I don't think you understand. I'm still not getting it. I don't know how to work out the. See, I
everything.
say yes, I did.
Okay. Million rand, press.
This present
PV.
value.
Okay.
And then the
240.
years is 240
press
months.
in
Time. And then the rate is 0.8. And that's the y. And then
compute the payment. Compute PMT.
oh, that's what I'm not doing. I didn't press compute. Okay, 9650.
Is that okay?
I'm not getting the same answer.
Because you didn't use the same rates. The rate you just put in as 0.83. You didn't put it as 3 recurring.
I did.
You did?
Yes.
Try again.
Yeah. You know what I did? I said 0.83333, so just 4 frees, and
Yes.
now I've put the frees like recurring. Oh wait, okay.
Exactly. Okay, the more 3s you put, the more accurate your answer. Okay.
Okay. Awesome.
Easy, hey?
Yeah, it's not that bad.
Okay.
Just need to remember.
So now amortization is looking at the paying off of the liability. So that means we're going to draw up columns. In PV, interest, balance, and then if you want to, you can show the principal, but I'm not going to show the principal. Or let's just asterisk it here. Principal repaid, just so you can see it. Alright, so how many years? 20.
20.
Make sense?
Yes.
Okay, what's the PV outstanding?
It's a million.
A million. Right, how much interest are we charging? 10% per annum, which is that 0.833% per month. Right, so the interest here is this times 10 divided by 100 divided by 12. That would be the interest for the first year.
Okay.
Okay. Right, how much are we going to be paying? What's our payment?
It's a million plus that 8.
No, it's what we just worked out. Right? Is that payment going to change? No, it's not. That payment will be the same year after year after year after year, or month after month after month after month.
Okay.
Do you agree?
Yes.
Okay, the balance would be what? What you started with plus what you started with plus the interest minus the payments. Okay, so that's what you would have as a balance at the end of month 1.
Okay.
Alright, so month 2's, oh hold on, wrong line, I wonder. Should be that side. Just copy it there. No, let's redo. This plus that minus that. That's better. Okay, then the present value would be this. Okay, and then interest would be what? Calculated on that.
Yes.
Okay, and then the balance there would be that figure.
Okay.
Alright, so you can see it's amortizing. Amortize means pay off the loan. You can see it's decreasing by little bit by little bit. Alright, so now if we do this for 240 periods, what are we going to get?
Eventually a 0.
That's low, it's amortized.
Okay.
Okay, so now we need to do this on the calculator. Right, just to show you something else. Okay, in terms of theory, this payment, do you agree this payment is paying off interest and a little bit of the capital?
Yes.
Right, that's why they call this principal repaid. So this payment here, how much interest did that payment pay off? That amount. How much principal did that interest pay off? The difference. Okay, that's the principal repaid. Alright, this plus that gives you that figure. And then you could take this and you could write that down for all of these periods. Right, so you can see that in the beginning, when you pay off a loan, hardly any of it goes towards paying off the actual liability.
Yes.
Because of all the interest that you have to pay. Right, but then as that carries on going and going and going and going, you start paying off more of the liability. Okay, and then less interest. You see? And then at some point in time, you pay off all of it, very little interest, and then you owe nothing. Alright, so now, can we read these line items on your calculator? Yes, we can. Okay, so you cleared it again.
Yes.
Alright, so redo it. Work this out again on the calculator.
Oh shit. Reason for me.
Is that right? Okay, so you got the 9.
9650.
Okay, so now what do?
You subtract.
No, you press amort. Remember? Remember?
No.
Okay, now you do. Press amort. Okay, what payment do I want to read? Okay, I want to read. Let's just fix these cells. Right, I want to read line number 102. Just because I want to. Alright, so what is P1 going to be? 102. So set it as 102. 102. Press. Insert it. Equals.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
Did you set it? Well, I don't think you did. Let's go back.
I said amort and then I said 102.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay, there's it there. Alright, it's not set. So do it again. 102. Press enter. Enter. Above delete.
Mm.
Okay, that's better.
Oh, so you don't press equals. Okay.
Okay, now scroll down. P2 is also going to be. What did you do?
I've double pressed that one.
Too much. You pressed it too much. Oh, redo. Okay, that's fine. Go up, down. There. Set P2 as what? 102.
Why?
Because you want to read 102.
But I just pressed 102 and P1, didn't I?
Yeah, so both must be 102 because you want to read that. You don't want to read 1 to 102. You want to read 102, so press enter.
Okay.
Okay, so now both your P1 and your P2 is that.
Okay.
Okay, so now press arrow down. Okay, balance. What's the balance here?
789,632. Was I? Oh no. You
Press
got
it down.
92.
Yeah, it's because of rounding. Principal. There.
Okay.
Press. Interest. There.
My word, this is so cool.
Okay. Alright. And that's how you do amortization. Right, so it's just paying off a loan.
Okay.
Alright, so that's what they've done here. They've given you more examples that you can look at. And let's see what else. There's a table here. Okay, just do this table then. Where's the start of the question? Okay, you always need to work out the payment first. Here's it. Right, so
the one that we've done.
Take this. Yeah, I know we've done it already, but now I'll do it again.
Yeah.
Should be easy then. So, what did they give you in the question? The loan amount. How long are you going to be paying this off? 5 years. What's the rate?
15%.
15% per annum. Okay, are your years and your payments in line? Yes.
What do you mean?
Yearly payments, yearly rates, number of years.
Okay.
Years for everything.
Okay. Oh.
Okay, no need to convert anything.
Okay.
Okay,
Oh, now I need to compute it.
compute what?
The payment.
Yes, that's the start.
Okay, so the present value is 5,000. Then 5 years. Yeah. Okay, wait, I need to clear the $1,000 rand.
Payment?
1,000 rand.
No.
Mine is 1,000.
Redo. Second function, clear everything. Okay, what's your PV?
My present value is 5,000 rand. It's 5. Present value.
What's your I? Your interest.
It's the 15%.
What's your N?
And my 5 years is time.
What are you solving for?
The annual payment.
Okay, so
Compute payment.
there we go.
Okay, 1491.
Okay, so you got that. There you go. Alright, so now let's just read. Can you read the stuff on line 3? But from your calculator. Okay, so now you've got the payment in the memory. Now press amort. P1 is going to be what?
You want line 3, so free.
3. Enter. Okay.
P2 is also free.
Okay.
Enter.
And then?
And then down arrow.
Yeah. What is that?
The balance is 2424.
Is it? Yes. That's the balance. Balance for the next period. Good. Next.
Okay.
Is that the interest? No, that's the principal.
Principal is 980.
Yeah. It's the yellow.
Yes.
Next. Interest?
Interest is 510.
Yes.
84.
That's it. Okay, so yeah, that was that. Anything else here? Exercise? Nope. And that finishes the theory.